The Wednesday week is sponsored by the Riverside Cafe, the perfect place for a pre-match pint.
There's a chance here, a great save, a turner from McClare. Might come a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brentman against Jones. Get in.
You could have two goalkeepers in there that would have trouble saving.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to the Wednesday week, the Sheffield Wednesday podcast. I'm Lord Hillsborough, and with me on the line first of all, we have Mr. Marriott, Jamesy O'Bean. How the chuff are you?
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, sorry, I've said that wrong. We now have to say the original, the world's longest running, the most fantastic Sheffield Wednesday podcast. Is that correct, Jay?
I would say all those things are accurate and true, yes.
And also on the line we have Mr. Davies, Richie O'Bean. How the chuff are you?
Good evening, my lord. It's good to have you back. We're not spoke to you for 2 or 3 weeks, I don't think.
I've been a busy boy. I would like to apologise for last week's missing a podcast as well, which is unusual. James was away, and well, when James goes away,
holiday. Well, I say holiday, not really.
Holidays?
What are these? It was -5 in Hamburg, and it snowed. And anyone that's been to Hamburg will know. I was literally the apartment that I was staying in is on the Reeperbahn, which is it's a red light district, but it's just a bit like West Street but bigger and lots of clubs. And so you can imagine there are a lot of very drunk people. Watching them trying to get around in the snow was hilarious. I would have paid double rent just to sit at the window and watch. It was fantastic.
And I know how James spends his holidays, watching drunken people.
in a red light district, yeah.
Is that why I went on holiday with Vic that time? And then wearing a bikini?
Let's not talk about that. Moving on.
Very well. I was proud of you, James, in that picture. I thought you looked quite attractive, and you were fluffed up very nicely.
I'm not rising to it. Oh, that's a bad push of phrase, wasn't
you
it?
You did already, yeah. Bad choice of words.
Right, then, legends. So let's crack on with some Wednesday speak, shall we? Obviously, we're not going to go back too far. We know what happened with Barnsley. Derby was great, of course. It was fantastic, and I'm sure it'll wind into the conversation later. But let's start with Swansea, shall we, chaps? Because that's a recent-ish sort of game. Were you happy with the result?
Hang on. Before we get to this, can we just dwell on Derby for a minute? Because I agree we shouldn't talk about Barnsley, but Derby was the one shining light of the last week and a bit. So even if we don't even need to say anything, maybe we just take a moment just to kind of, dwell in the glow of the gloriness that was. I wasn't even there, so I don't really know. Yeah, but, after we all said, and we did it on the podcast, didn't we? We went down the line, do you think we'll get anything out of it? No. And, of course, Sheffield Wednesday, so we go and win. So if we let's just take a moment respectively just to wallow in the greatness that was that game.
Is this where we go quiet now? Is that what we're doing?
Just, contemplate. It's a bit of self-contemplation. It's, it's important.
I often self-contemplate, though. Is that what you mean?
Get those pictures in your head. Think about Lucas Zhao. You think about Zhao in your head there? Have you got that image of him?
No, funnily enough, not currently.
He's just about
I'm self-contemplating.
He's just about to pull that right trigger. Where's that ball going? It's in the back of the net, Rich.
I missed the second goal.
I missed both of them.
Yeah, I missed the second goal. I was having a piss, so I missed it.
So, you weren't at the Derby game, Jay?
No, I was.
What was the other match that you missed this season?
Yeah, all right. That was the game at home to Reading in the cup.
Is that the one that we also won 2-0?
Yeah. We did.
There's a pattern appearing then. Stay away. Stay away.
We won that one. Yeah, there is definitely a pattern emerging. I attempted. I know we're jumping ahead here, but I attempted for the Millwall game some kind of weird sort of superstition thing, because on the train on my way back from Manchester Airport when the Derby match was taking place, by the way, trying to follow a game on Twitter or when you're on a train going over the Pennines is not much fun because you don't get very good reception.
No.
So by the time Twitter actually connects and it refreshes, you've got a lot to catch up on. But I was wearing a hoodie that I'd bought while I was in Hamburg, so I've decided this must be my lucky hoodie. So I wore it again on Tuesday night. And it's definitely not my lucky hoodie. So there we go. That was a really crap story. I apologise.
You didn't take off at half time, did you? What, you weren't too warm or anything at all like that?
No. We were just
the Derby game, it was lovely. And how nice was it to have a nice, relaxing football match as well? I mean, it's unusual, all that. It's certainly completely unexpected, as we mentioned there, but it was just nice, weren't it? It was just, fantastic. But then everything else happened after that, which brought us back down to earth again. So, first of all, Swansea. The return of Carlos, first of all. I thought Carlos was received very well by the Wednesday nights, wasn't he, chaps? I know we don't want to talk about Carlos too much, but I did think it was nice.
I got in as usual just before kickoff, and I wouldn't have even known that we were playing the team managed by our former manager. I didn't hear any reaction for him at all. I don't know whether I missed it. Apparently, there was a bit of a reaction, fans giving him a high five and stuff when he got off the team coach and stuff. But to be fair, that's probably engineered by BT Sport. If anything, they probably went down and told fans, "Oh, well, you try and give them a high five, see what happens," and offer to give them like a Chupa Chups lolly in return or something. So
really,
yeah,
I missed out on a Chupa Chup.
You did. I'm afraid so.
Shit.
Yeah, sorry.
What did you tell me?
Yeah, I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear any. He didn't get any stick. I was ready to go on a chorus of "You can stick your effing Carlos up your arse" if we took the lead. See whether I could get that going on the north, but that situation never came round, unfortunately. In fact, the only time where it ever kind of had any impact on me at all was when at some point the Swansea fans sang for about 4.5 seconds a chorus of Carvajal's Barmy Army. And I'm like, firstly, you call him Carlos. Secondly, his surname is not pronounced Carvajal. That's what people on the TV that don't know anything say. So that rattled me a little bit. But apart from that, I mean, it was a bit of a damp script, wasn't it, the return of Carlos?
They did have a bit of a Carlos had a dream at one point. They sang that, but I couldn't really tell the words, Yeah, they sang it first half thing. But when he came out, I think the teams came out and he followed them afterwards. So all the kind of I suppose attention was dragged onto the teams, not onto Carlos. He came out
good,
but obviously I don't know what you saw at the end, James. He got really well received at the end when he went onto the pitch and shook hands with everybody, and then as he walked off, certainly from the south stand, he got a really good reception. I
left with about 30 seconds of injury time
left
to go.
He got a really good reception from the south
to go
stand.
And record a post-match video for BT Sport in return for a Chupa Chups lolly. True story.
I must admit, BT Sports were hamming up the return of Carlos, shall we say. And Carlos himself was as well. His post-match, obviously, he mentioned returning to Wednesday. When they do the little VT bit, he was walking down the bowels of Hillsborough, if you like, and he sort of faked to go into the home dressing room instead of the away dressing room and pointed his fingers the wrong way. Oh, silly me, all that kind of thing. So Carlos himself was sort of hamming it up. And I think basically all the post-match on the TV was about Carlos. Josh got a very sparse mentioning when it came to the actual TV element of it all, and it was all built around this return of Carlos, which put me off a little bit, if I'm honest. It really wasn't great. As you say, Carlos, at the end, there was videos of him on the telly as well. He actually went into the stand, he was shaking hands and all that kind of thing. And he was actually on the pitch for his post-match interview, which, again, Jos wasn't. So it's just really, really weird. I think if I was Jos, I'd feel a bit put out by it all.
I think, to be honest, Swansea made more of a deal of him coming back to Hillsborough than Wednesday did. And I know probably everybody will say that should be how it'll be. But I thought they did it. I don't know whether everybody saw that little video they did, that minute and a half or so of Carlos coming back and whatever, which I thought was really good of them to do it. They didn't have to do that, but they did. And there was a really nice moment with him talking to a Wednesday fan at the end, an old guy whose birthday it was, and he just wanted to thank Carlos for what he'd done in his 2.5 years with us. And yeah, we didn't kind of put anything out.
No,
I don't really want to sort of bang on about Carlos too much, although I realise I am doing. But I think he's enjoying his Premiership status as well, isn't he? He's been sort of Do you think he's hamming up the Carlosisms? Do you think he did it for us with his meats on the fire and all that kind of thing? Because I'm sure
he is the ultimate media whore, isn't he? Like, he's the one that the rest of us aspire to. If you look at the difference between them, right? Jos is, I imagine that if he could get away with never doing another press interview ever again, he would happily take it. Like, he does them because it's, he's contractually obliged to do them. He doesn't like doing them. He doesn't make any particular effort to do them. He's quite friendly and amiable, but Carlos actually enjoys them. He loves all the media attention, and it's right up his street, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But when it came to the game as well, shall we talk about the football for a minute, Zoo Chap? That'd be nice too. I must admit, I know Swansea's team wasn't sort of full strength or anything at all like that, but I was pleasantly surprised by the way that we dealt with them.
Well, I mean, first things first, which is that when our team selection came out, communally our fan base seemed to immediately write us off, and slightly turn on the manager, saying that everything that he'd said in the media during the week about how the FA Cup's really important was rubbish, because he was throwing the game by playing a weakened team, or playing a defensive team, and going out with the intention of getting a draw. And certainly in the pub there were a lot of people that were kind of a bit sort of meh about the team selection, and in actual fact, I thought that we were by far the more attacking team. Certainly in the first 20-30 minutes, I thought we came out of the traps really, really well. And Swansea didn't offer a great deal, I don't think. There were moments where you kind of saw a little bit of quality from them that we kind of struggled to create, but not enough to really sort of endanger us. And yeah, there's a fair argument they probably should have had a penalty. But, we rode our luck a little bit, and a couple of good saves from Dawson. But, yeah, I think we were the better team. I really do.
Yeah, the one save in particular, of course, we can't not mention that which again was made a massive deal. Of course, it was the biggest highlight, but that save from Dawson was amazing, wasn't it?
On Saturday night, I was in the ball at Crooks, and he was in there, Cameron Dawson, and we got talking to him. And I said, what a great save it was. And he said, all I did was I just stuck a hand up at it. And I'm like, come on, take some credit for it. It was a little bit better than that. So he was really reluctant taking any credit for it. But the funniest thing he did, and if he hears this, he'll hate this. Literally at the end of it, he got a pint, and he put the glass down and dropped it. Completely.
I was hoping you were going to say he dropped his pint. That'd be brilliant.
He dropped the pint glass. It was an empty pint glass, and he went to put it on the side and dropped it. He turned around and looked at us in the pub, just looking at him. We were all like gobsmacked, and the irony of it wasn't lost on him. He just burst out and walked out the pub and left, and that was
fantastic.
It was one of those moments I really wish I got on.
Rich, genuinely, that's the best thing I've heard all week. That is brilliant.
It was hilarious.
Brilliant.
So, and he took it in good stead.
We've got the title of the podcast right there. Cameron Dawson drops his pint. There we go.
Even the chap that I forget his name now, but the chap that headed the ball for the shot, if you like. If you watch the clip afterwards, you can hear him mouthing, "How did he save that?" Which again, brilliant. And it wasn't the only save he made, of course, but it was a cracking save. Playing Atty as well from the off. I thought Atty had a decent game. Am I on my own with this? I thought he
was great. He was great. Yeah. Can't
Would you say possibly he could have been the saviour of Sheffield Wednesday Football Club?
No, he's been fucking shocking recently.
I think you're talking.
He's been shocking. You really are.
Yeah. He's. I wonder whether or not with Dave that he is the kind of the definition of when a player is playing for a contract. He has played some decent games of late, but
fair play.
He's been. We've said this before. He's been pretty terrible for about 2.5 years now. And he's all right. He scored a couple of goals of late, but he's realised the party's about to end. It's only got until whatever it is, May, June, July, when his contract's up. He's got to make a good impression before then. I did say a couple of times on Saturday, I said, we're really going to have to consider giving this guy a contract, aren't we? And then I'm thinking, no, he's just playing for it.
No, of course we're going to have to give him a contract. It's not his fault that he's not been playing, is it? It's if he'd been playing all that time, then maybe we'd have seen this for the last
It kind
season.
of is his fault that he's not been playing, though, isn't it? Because he was playing, but he wasn't scoring goals, so he went out and bought better players who were scoring goals. That's why he wasn't playing. So it's kind of his fault that he wasn't playing.
I don't know. I think I see the good in Atty. I purposely look for the good in Atty, whereas other people seem to look for the bad. But there wasn't a great deal of bad to take from that game. I didn't think. I thought it was fantastic. So very, very pleased.
Can I give you my really good from the Swansea game? And this is from my kind of half-drunken notes that I scribbled into my phone afterwards. Because after the game, I was really, really pleased. I thought it had been a really solid performance, and we were probably unlucky not to win. I mean, I'm not saying we particularly had any hugely clear-cut chances. You know, Adam Reach certainly had a chance early on in the game, and there were a couple of other decent chances. But what I really liked is that on paper it looked like a very average Wednesday lineup. It didn't look like that good a team. You know, Atty knew he up front on his own with Wallace playing behind him or Reach playing behind him, however you wanted to interpret it beforehand. You kind of think that's not going to be a team that's going to, you know, we'll probably create one half decent chance through the whole game. And of course it turned out that we played some decent stuff against. It certainly wasn't a weak Swansea team, and there's no way that Carlos wanted to be embarrassed by us. And I kind of thought then that maybe this is just the first signs that we've got here that Jos is really starting to get to know the players, and he's taken his time and he's soaked it up and he's worked with them on the training pitch, and you know, he started to sort of make his changes. And I thought Saturday was, and I'm ignoring Tuesday night when I say this, Saturday was the first kind of point where I really thought, actually, what Jos has done here is he's created a team. We're playing as a team now. It's not about which individuals are particularly good. It's 11 players that are all kind of playing for each other and know what their role is within the collective unit. And I was really impressed with that on Saturday, and came away with a real kind of, you know, warm, fuzzy feeling in my tummy, thinking, you know, this guy's he's just starting to create something now. He's just starting to learn what he needs to learn about his players, to find out what he needs to know about them, to know how to get the best out of them. Because he did, I thought on Saturday, we got, you know, a good performance out of generally not, I'm not going to call them average players, but they're certainly not, you know, at the top end of our squad, are they?
I think that's fair, absolutely. And I had a very similar feeling, I must admit, after obviously the Derby result, and then after drawing with essentially a Premiership team. I was glass half full again, chaps. I thought it was marvellous. Last little bit, really. I don't know if you noticed or if you watched back to the highlights or anything at all like that, but obviously when Carlos did come on the pitch at the end of the game, he was obviously shaking hands and all that kind of thing. He went to shake hands with João, and João didn't seem too pleased to be shaking hands with Carlos. Did you chaps see that?
I didn't see that, I must admit. I didn't see that.
Yeah, I just wondered if João had a bit of a point to prove to Carlos. And after the Derby result, obviously, I thought he would have loved to have sort of stuck one in after that. But yeah, so after you've had your good feeling, Jay, and everybody was on cloud cuckoo, then came Millwall. And I assume that you were at this one, Jay, and that again, clearly it's your fault that everything went wrong here.
Well, you would assume wrong, because I wasn't at Millwall. Like a lot of Wednesday fans, I watched the first half of it, but not the second half. And there'll be a number of Wednesday fans that know what I'm talking about when I say that. Yeah, no, it wasn't. I had a few mates that were there, but I wasn't. So yeah, the insight I can give you is minimal.
I've just had a text from a friend of mine that was there, and he's put, and this is his exact words. On another note, Millwall was utter dog turd. That's his humble opinion. That's my friend Josh.
And that seems to be what a lot of fans are saying, and that, you know, fans that travel down to London. Right, a mate of mine texted me earlier, saying, you know, did you go last night? I'm after some, you know, an honest kind of feedback from someone, because everyone just seems to be kind of losing their shit over it a bit. I'm like, I didn't. If I had have travelled all the way to London and seen it, then I'd probably feel aggrieved and want to have a good old whinge about it. So, I'm quite fortunate in the respect that I wasn't there, because I'm probably going to do the opposite of what most people have done here, and just kind of brush it off, because it was just, we tried something, it didn't work. And I used to, I gave Carlos so much stick, and so did other Wednesday fans, about how rigidly he would not shift from playing 4-4-2. And I still insist now, if Carlos stayed as Sheffield Wednesday manager, we'd probably have gone down this season, because he was not going to budge from playing 4-4-2, and it was not working. We were playing a variety of different ways of playing 4-4-2. We were playing diamond, we were playing, but it wasn't working. Jos has come in and done exactly what we were all saying, which is we've got to find different ways of winning football games, and he's trying something different. It was, whether you want to call it a 5-5-0, or I think it was more of a 3-4-3 formation with a false 9. But you know what? I think he's had a look at the players on the training field, and he's pieced together something that I think in training has looked like it was going to work, and they've gone out there. And I think all of us, when Pelopessi sticks that one in the back of the net, we all think, do you know what? Jos might just be a tactical genius here that he's managed to put together this formation that works. In actual fact, what went wrong is a load of individual errors, and if we're honest, it was really an absolute horror show from Glenn Louvens as the leader of the defence, who at the moment is not a patch on Daniel Pudil as the leader of the defence. We gave the ball away more times than is really humanly possible for a football team to do in their own final third of the pitch. And when you do that, you lose football games. So for me, it was one to very much chalk down to experience. We tried something different. It didn't work. We'll not do it again. But, let's not lose our shit over it. People that are saying, oh, well, I'm going to give him to the end of March and then he's going to have to go. Just stop for a second, stop being an idiot and grow up.
I kind of agree. I pride myself on trying to... I don't claim to be a football expert by any stretch of the imagination, but I can generally see what a manager's trying to do. I had no clue at all what Jos was trying to achieve with that formation. It stumped me completely.
When you look at it, it bemused me as well, I'll be honest. Go on, James.
Let me take you back to it was the David Jones era. Dave Jones, when he was manager of Sheffield Wednesday, and we were, I think it was our first season back in the Championship, and we were kind of like, we were there or thereabouts in the bottom 3. And we were away at Hull. It was a Saturday night game, and Hull were, I think, either second or top in the Championship. And everyone wrote us off, like, Hull were going to absolutely hammer us. And we played with a formation without a recognised striker. We played with Michael Antonio as our false 9. And we won that game 3-1, I think, in very dramatic circumstances, including, if you remember, it was the goal that was direct from the corner when Reader Johnson just basically kicked their goalkeeper into the back of the net, and he was down injured for about 20 minutes. But the ball had already crossed the line, so it was a goal, and it was correctly given. And we won that game, and we won it without a recognised striker. And it was one of those things that every so often you try, because you look at the players you've got and think this might just work, and it does work. And then sometimes you try it and it doesn't work. Does it need us to go absolute? Do we need to lose the amount of crap that we're losing over it when just 7 days before we put in a great performance against Derby, and at the time there were fans genuinely talking about whether we could catch up the playoffs, and Jos being the second coming of the Messiah. He doesn't go from being that to being the exact opposite in the space of a week. Let's just get a bit of perspective on it. It was a game that we'd rather have not lost, but we did, and we move on.
I agree that I think the reaction has been over-tanked a little bit, shall we say. But I would just like to try and figure out what the thinking was behind it. Obviously, Jos was asked by Rob Staten, I'm going to learn that name one day, and quite vehemently actually about not having a striker on the pitch. And Jos said that obviously the strikers weren't 100%. He had to protect his players, etc., etc., etc. Obviously, we've seen João against Derby, and he was fantastic. He took his goals brilliantly well. Do you guys, well, for the want of a better word, believe that maybe the strikers weren't
just perplexed that we see Ross Wallace as a striker to play him up there, and I still can't get why Boyd is playing him in it. He's just been atrocious recently. It's like you've given a football to a man that's never played football. I just don't see anything from him. A friend of mine said the other day, we've got him 6 years too late. When he used to tear us a new one at Peterborough, he was great, but he just looks, so many times he's looked so off the boil, and so just, and then we play him up front, and it's, what's going on?
I think what you said there can be applied to so much of our squad, though, can't it? You know,
probably.
This is the recruitment policy that we've had, which I don't think anyone can argue with the fact that it's been proved to actually not be effective, has been getting players that have been there and done it, and thinking, you know, if you assemble a squad of players that have done it and got promoted before, then you're going to get promoted, and clearly it hasn't worked. But you know, Boyd was for a free signing, he was a solid signing during the summer, I thought, and you're right, it's not happened for him. I don't think he's been terrible of late, but he's certainly not setting anything on fire, and he's one of those players that just falls in that category of what we've done is just kind of given a player sort of his last payday, really, who's probably not got any great desire or any great desire probably is the word, to get promoted, because he's already done it. You know, it probably doesn't really matter to him. But I think I'm not sure that Boyd's particularly the problem. I think the issues that we've got at the moment are when we don't get the right combination of centre halves, it tends to fall to bits. That's one of the problems. I think Glenn Loovens is gone, and I think that we need to stop playing him because he's costing us points. And I think that Morgan Fox is quite possibly the worst football that we've had at this football club for the last 20 years. Again, last night
hang on.
They were flinging everything down the left hand side because they knew Fox he don't know what to do. He just stands there and just honestly looks like he's never played football before. He looks the most confused person in the world, almost to the point where I don't dislike him. I just feel really sorry for him. Yeah, I really think he's just thought. He probably kind of longs for a move. You know, maybe Hallam on a Tuesday night would probably suit him quite well. He'd be all right with that. He's not up to this level. And they're kind of the problems where it's going wrong at the moment. And I think maybe Jos knows that, and he still sees, you know, defensively we are quite fragile still. So when people look at it and say, oh, he's playing far too defensively, I think this guy just sees the fact that, you know, it's not a matter of us winning games, it's making sure the defence don't lose us games. And unfortunately, I think that's what happened.
Yeah, although I couldn't read the tactics, I don't think that was a problem. I think, as you say, individual errors. The amount of times we gave the ball away in the front, in the area, it was just crazy today. And when you go back to Loovens, I mean, I love Glenn Loovens. All Wednesday fans love Glenn, surely by now. But it's kind of like that fateful old dog that you've had for years and years and years, and you know he's getting a bit old, and it's time to take him out to the barn, just like
and shoot it,
and put him out of his misery. Bless him. I love him so much, and I want him to be remembered for what he's done and not for this season. And it pains me to say it, but I think he's had his day, hasn't he? Bless him.
Absolutely, yes, I agree with that, 110%.
Of course, there has been some positives from the as well. We have to mention the Pelipesi strike, because it was an absolute bona fide thunder chuffer as well, wasn't it? It was a beautiful goal, and his celebration after. How pleased was the chap? Did you see the photographs?
I think he's done some similar, a couple of goals like that in. Was it Holland who was playing in or wherever? He did something similar there, didn't he? So we know he's got it in his armory. So yeah, it was a fair old thunder chuffer, like you say.
he's attempted a few whilst he's been on the pitch for us as well, hasn't he? This is the first one that's come off. Yes, it was lovely to see, and the reaction afterwards I just thought was fantastic. A bit of passion. It was nice. I don't know if it was personal or for the club or whatever it was, but it was just nice to see a proper scream after you'd sort of a really, 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 really spectacular goal. So fair play to him. There has been some fans that have had their reservations, shall we say, about Mr. Pelopessi. Do you guys think he's still maybe getting up to speed with Championship and obviously with speaking English and new managers and all that kind of thing? Do you think we've got a lot more to see from him? Yeah.
Possibly. I think it's been a relatively unspectacular start to his Wednesday career. I don't think, other than the goal the other night, I don't think he's done anything that's made us think that he's anything particularly outstanding as of yet. But you do get that sort of feeling that he is still just kind of getting used to the league, and what he doesn't tend to do, or maybe hasn't, I think he maybe did in his first couple of games and hasn't done since, he doesn't tend to make really silly sort of errors. I think he's a fairly kind of no nonsense kind of player in that defensive midfield role, which is kind of what you want in the Championship. You want someone in that position that doesn't muck things up and can break up the play. So I would say promising but unspectacular would be my review 1 month in.
He's been caught in possession a few times. He's got a few wayward balls in him as well, which I am putting down at the moment to sort of learning the speed of the Championship, if you like. But fingers crossed and all that kind of thing. I don't want to judge the chap too harshly, but hopefully it's all going to work out for the best. And of course, finally from the Millwall game, Mr. Thornley obviously went down with quite a... It didn't look much, did it, chaps, when he actually went down? Obviously, it did lead to a goal, which was unfortunate. But he's tweeted out himself today saying that he's basically okay. Apparently, it's concussion and bruising, again, from Rob Setton. But it looked worrying, didn't it, at the time? I don't know what you chaps thought. I assume because of concussion, I believe there are FA rules to say that it's going to be... He has to sit out for a while now, doesn't he? I don't know if it's days or weeks or what, but it's just another one on the injury list, isn't it?
On the injury list, yeah, exactly. Yeah, to join with Mr. Winnell with his cruise ship that was dragged out week before, something like that as well. So yeah, we've got all sorts on the busiest physios in the league.
Hello there, everybody.
Whether you're celebrating a birthday, a wedding or anniversary, maybe you've passed your driving test, or you've landed a new job. Well, whatever your reason for a party, the Riverside Cafe is the perfect location on Catch Bar Lane overlooking Hillsborough Stadium. To inquire about hiring us for your function, call 07989 856 054 or 014 232 6121.
Right then, so let's crack on with some Wednesday news, shall we, boys and girls? Let's see if we can't pull this podcast around to something a little bit more positive. First things first, 5-year season tickets have been announced. Do you guys think this is a cracking idea, or do you think it's a way for the club to get some money in sharpish?
Yes.
It's Rich, you've been in steering group meetings where this has come up, because in the past when it's been raised, the chairman's been fairly unequivocal in saying, no, we'll not be doing that again. That was a one-off thing.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
The way that this works, and I'll just kind of explain it the best that I know it, is when you sell season tickets over a 5-year season ticket, the money that you get you then in the accounts you have to spread over 5 years. So there's no particular benefit in the immediate term for financial fair play. Something like the Club 1867 thing, where it's you're paying X amount up front for a plaque, but then you're given a free season ticket when the club get promoted to the Premier League, that all goes in the accounts immediately, so that was quite beneficial for financial fair play. And that's why the chairman had said a few times, no, I'm not going to do the multi-year season tickets again, because we don't really gain anything from it in terms of the accounts and in terms of financial fair play. Lo and behold, and again, I think we've got to. We all said the jury was going to be out on it, but we've got a chief exec that's come in, and I seem to have some kind of influence, because after the chairman saying no, I'm not going to do that, here we are now with an offer that I think a lot of fans have asked for. It's probably not the right season for this to come up, because it's not got quite the same positive feel around the place as the last couple of seasons have. But for those people that can afford it, it potentially saves an absolute fortune. So
I suppose it's double. It's a double header on this. I think it's like, obviously somebody takes a 5-year. Let's say it's a no stand, £2.5 comes into the club. Obviously the club are trying to get as much cash in now as possible to kind of alleviate financial fair play, etc., etc. But also, I guess, look at it from my perspective, so I pay £555 for my season ticket in a no stand. I could literally, give or take a few quid, pay that now for the next 5 years, which, is not bad. And kind of to have a price freeze on your season ticket for the next 5 years, if you've got the cash, is a really good deal, to be fair.
Do you want to pay for mine, Rich?
I said if I got the cash.
But
I could buy a 1 year season ticket this year. I can't afford the 5 year.
So do you guys think it is sort of a genuine something from the club to get people in Hillsborough? Because let's face it, when Hillsborough is full, when it's got people in Hillsborough, it is a different place, isn't it? It's strange how a full Hillsborough can affect a team, I think. Or do you think this is a sort of a genuine olive branch from the club saying, look, we know that there's Wednesday fans out there. We know that there's Wednesday fans that are going to have season tickets for the next 5 years. Here's a fair old chunk of saving if you are willing to make that commitment. And as Rich said, if you've got the finances to put that in place, because it is a good saving. It would work out something about £18 a game or something like that, which is not really that bad, is it?
It has to be, really. It has to be. The club honestly doesn't benefit anything more from the fact that people sign up for 5 years than if they did it year by year, other than the risk of the fact that someone just goes, oh, I'm going to have a year off this year. At least this way they've committed to it. But it's not like, if you pay £2,500 for a 5 year season ticket on the North, they can't just put that straight into the accounts. They can only put in £500 of that each year into the accounts for the next 5 years. So there's nothing to be gained from an accounting point of view in the immediate term to do that. So in terms of alleviating any financial fair play issues this summer, this really has very little impact on that whatsoever, really. It'd have been better off only offering £555 renewals this year and then maybe looking at it in 12 months time. So I honestly, having spent several hours with various people talking financial fair play over the last couple of months, I'm not going to say that I'm any sort of an expert, but I do know the way that season tickets work and in terms of how the impact it has on the accounts, and I honestly believe it is just something that the club's doing because they think maybe people will sign up for this, get them committed, even though there's no huge immediate financial gain for the club.
No, I think it's a good thing. I personally think it's fantastic just to get people in Hillsborough, and for anybody that takes that, 5 years again, it's a big old commitment as well. So fair play to any fan that takes that up. Obviously, it has also been announced that as Rich mentioned, the early bird season ticket deals are for 2018, 2019, and the prices are frozen. Again, significant savings. I'm just reading this from the website now. With significant savings for young owls and the family enclosure and the grandstand in Hillsborough. Under 11s in the grandstand pay the equivalent of £1 a game with a new £23 season ticket, which is brilliant, I think.
It's absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah,
Can't
really,
that,
really
so.
good. If you go back to, you remember when the first year of the the Chansiri era. You remember there was that story in the papers about the mum who wanted to take a child to the game, and I think it was going to cost something like £25 for a ticket for one game or something, and we all kind of thought, oh god, it's not good PR, and it wasn't great. You know, here you are, it's now a season ticket for that child, what would cost less than what that one ticket would have cost. So I think that's brilliant and exactly what we need, because we've said before, you know, we run the risk of falling a little bit behind, you know, shall we say, other clubs in the area if our pricing is so aggressive that it starts making families think, you know what, we can't afford to go to Hillsborough. So I'm really pleased that they've done something that really helps with that.
Absolutely. And it's not just for the, I mean, that's the under 11s, if you like, but again, looking at the under 17s as well, in the family enclosure, we'll also see a reduction. Again, read from our website now, paying £75, which works out at £3.26 per game for an under 17. So if you're a dad or a mum out there and you've got a 6-year-old now, essentially you can take them to Hillsborough for the next 10 years. And it's, if you're going anyway, then that 5-year season ticket is looking very, very, very enticing. And if you know you can take your young one along for essentially £1 a game for the next 5 years, and then only £3.26 a game for the next sort of 5 years after that, to me that just looks as though Wednesday really look into the family element of this club, and I think it's amazing, because to me football is going with me dad, if you like, and to a lot of people out there it's the same sort of thing. I'm sure we all started that way. James, Rich, that's how I started. I assume that's how you started as well. What am I right in that assumption?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And I'm fairly certain that when my dad was buying me a season ticket way back when, it was probably more expensive than the ones that are being put forward by the club regime now, which is you know, is quite something, considering the fact that we'd probably say that the reputation that Mr. Chansiri's got is of, you know, milking every bit that he can out of us as a fan base, and that's not my personal comment, but you know, that's kind of what the reputation seems to be. So you know, that's something pretty good.
Absolutely. So get your little owls up to Hillsborough and get them watching some football, and then let Mr. Chansiri milk them when they get to an age where they can pay for themselves.
No, I'm not sure about that.
Sorry, I may have. I could have phrased that better, couldn't I? I apologise. There'll be no milking of the children at Hillsborough. I'm going to stop. Right, let's move on. So this is something that Jay brought up earlier, and I had completely missed this, and I don't know exactly how I managed to miss this. But I mean, Jay, you mentioned that this the All Wednesday video. Please do take over, because I must admit I'm reading this now. This completely passed me by.
You and me both. You and me both, brother.
Sorry, I was just getting another beer. I was away from a microphone then. Yes, All Wednesday. So it is a film that I think I'm hoping one of you has actually got the news story in front of you, and therefore will know more about it than
yes,
or can tell me if I say anything that's wrong. But the club have commissioned a guy who is like does kind of freelance filmmaking, who's also a Wednesday fan, and he is
Chap is called Matt Exton.
Matt Exton, that's the one. He's basically going to interview fans and collate kind of old footage as well, and put together a film. It's called All Wednesday, and it's kind of about what Wednesday means to us as fans, really, kind of sharing our respective stories, looking back through the history of the club. I assume it will also feature some of kind of like, you know, the present day, you know, movers and shakers within the football club as well. And Manchester City are in the process of doing something similar, and I think there's other clubs that have done something like this, and it's a great move, because if you think about, you know, buying like a season review DVD or something from the club is quite a kind of like, no one really does that anymore. You can watch all the highlights on YouTube. You know, if it was a promotion year or something, then maybe you think about it. This is something that I can really see fans kind of wanting to own, because it's something that you'll kind of keep, and, you know, every so often you go back to it and just remind yourself. We all have those kind of periods where you forget, but where you remind yourself just, you know, why you love this club and why it means so much to us. So this sounds like a really good idea, and I'm dead pleased that Wednesday have got on board and decided to do something kind of out of the blue, really, that just seems to be a really fabulous idea.
It's positive, isn't it? That's something I really like about. I mean, James and myself, I think we're a similar age, aren't we, Jay? And I assume that our memories will be the same. Obviously, Richard's super old.
Cheeky bastard. I knew that was coming. Cheeky get. So hey, listen. If you two look as good as I do at my age, then you'll be happy.
I really would. If you were to add your memories to this, Rich, we'll start with you. If you were to add one of your favourite footballing Sheffield Wednesday type memories, what would you put forward?
Do you know my memory that and it's quite relevant to something that's happening next week as well for me. That involves Wednesday, and James knows what this is. Yeah. So as a kid, I was brought up on FA Cup finals with my dad. Every FA Cup final we used to sit and watch without fail. And my dad once said to me, and my dad's from Swansea. He's a Welshman. He's not with us anymore, but he was Wednesday through and through. He came up here as a kid, and despite his links, took me to my first games at Hillsborough and bought season tickets, etc., etc. So my real special moment was in '93. He promised me he'd take me to watch Wednesday in the cup final, and it never looked like it happened. To the point where I think in about 1989, the Football League centenary, when we went down to watch Wednesday at Wembley, that was what I thought about my early time to watch Wednesday at Wembley. And obviously we had a few trips after beyond that. But I remember coming out of the semi-final against United, and I'd not sat with my dad that day. I was 21, so you're gone past sitting with your parents at the football. So I wasn't sat with him, but I found him on the way out and ran towards him, giving him the biggest hug I've probably ever given my dad. A 21-year-old kid actually picked my dad up because he promised me to take to the cup final, and we kind of lived that out. So I guess that's my standout moment, and that's why this all links into next week's trip to Swansea, which I'm going to make. I've got tickets and I'm going. So them all linked to my dad. All these memories, I think.
Absolutely. Jay, do you have a particular memory that you would put forward for this?
Yeah, I mean, I started following Wednesday. I've told the story a couple of times of my first Wednesday game was actually when they got relegated from the old Division 1, the old top flight, against Nottingham Forest in 1990.
Forest game, yeah.
And then the first kind of 2-3 years of watching Wednesday were then kind of like unparalleled success, really. And my first full season saw them get promoted and win the League Cup. And actually, that's great to watch in your first season, but it doesn't. You could do with a few seasons of being pretty rubbish to really appreciate that, because that to me just became quite normal. The following season, we even on the last day of the season, we were in with a shout of winning the league. So maybe kind of like the kind of winning the League Cup probably doesn't qualify for me, because I didn't appreciate just how important it was at the time. Those trips to Wembley in 1993 were great, but I would pick out that night in, and I think it would have still been 93, but the night of seeing European football at Hillsborough when Kaiserslautern played at Hillsborough. And that was a game I'm not sure I've ever really experienced an atmosphere like it since. The Kaiserslautern fans, I think it was the first time I'd ever seen flares set off in a football stadium, and fans, and actually I think that set the roots of me ultimately falling in love with German football, which is where I'm at the moment. And just an amazing atmosphere, a great night. In actual fact, a pretty good football match, some good goals. It didn't go our way in the end, but I did think then I need to remember this, because I might not see Sheffield Wednesday play in Europe again for a long time, and unfortunately I was very right, and it could well be it could well be the only time in my lifetime now that I get to see Sheffield Wednesday play in Europe. So I'm glad a couple of times during that game I just stopped just to kind of take it in. and I remember thinking, this is a special night. And I was only a kid, but even now, I still remember just stopping those couple of times and just thinking, this is wow. So that would be what I'd pick out. What about you, Lord H?
I just thought that was normal at that time. It was like, oh, that's it then. We're just going to be in Europe all the time now, aren't we? How wrong I was. To me, I mean, my one of my most potent memories just recently is the playoff final. It sounds silly, but travelling down to the match with my dad, my sister in the car, my dad's mate Pete, who obviously when I was a boy, that was my football day. It was my dad, my sister, my dad's mate Pete. And when we went down to Hillsborough and we're all in the car together, it was like being 10 years old again. It was just amazing to sort of transport me back to being a boy. So just those memories and having the family there and all that kind of thing, it was just, I can't tell you what it meant. And that's why, obviously, the most recent announcement regarding the cheaper seats for the kids and that kind of thing, get your kids to Hillsborough, because they're the things that they'll remember when they're old, rackety old men like me now, because they are some of the best times I've had with the family. It's going to Hillsborough with my dad, with my sister, and with my dad's mate Pete. So get your dad, get your sister, get the kids in the car, and get your dad's mate Pete in the car as well, and get yourself to Hillsborough and watch some chuffing football, because you'll remember it for a long, long time, and the kids certainly will as well.
Funnily enough, it was my dad's mate Pete that first took me and my dad to a match. There we go.
Everybody's dad's got a mate called Pete, and if they're half as good as my dad's mate called Pete, they're a top chap as well, I tell you. Right, so yes, looking forward to the vid, and obviously we've just waffled out a few of our favourite sort of memories, and I'm looking forward because everybody's got their own way of supporting Wednesday, which is why I try not to criticise people when they have their own way, and I'm really looking forward to seeing that. So good on you, Matt, and hopefully we're looking forward to seeing it soon. Right, so a couple of, again, let's get back to some positive points. There's been a few pro contracts offered for some of our younger chaps as well, hasn't there? Which is fantastic. You obviously, Mr. Thornley was offered a contract and accepted, signed a new contract. Was it last week before? Certainly. Yeah,
new 3-year contract, wasn't it, I think?
Absolutely, and they seem properly chuffed with it as well, which is good to see. And obviously this week, Sean Clare and Mr. O'Grady has also been offered new contracts as well, pro contracts, which again is brilliant, isn't it? Because I think maybe, I don't know if you guys agree, but I know there's a reason that the youth have been playing in the first team just recently, but I just think it's really nice to see. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I really like the fact that now we seem to be embracing the youth. And maybe it's a forced embrace, but get them in there, and from the chaps that have played, nobody's, I don't think, let us down, really, have they?
No, I mean, it was the same again on Tuesday night, wasn't it, with Jack Stobbs making his first start. And we've talked about Stobbs before. Absolutely. Because it's like 3 years, I think, since he first kind of came on in a sub in the last home game of the season, way back when under Stuart Gray, and then sort of vanished and kind of never went anywhere. It's another one of these kind of points as well where it's, you know, we a lot of fans were screaming at Carlos, you know, give the youth a try because it's not working with the players that you're playing. You know, to be fair to Jos, he's really kind of he's embraced them. He's played them in a way where I think he's tried not to expose them too much to any risk. And I guess what I mean by that is that rather than just throwing them all in at once, he tends to kind of play one or two and then give them a rest for the next game rather than you know, really kind of exposing them to you know, the harsh it is of playing week in, week out in the Championship, with the probable exception of Thornley, who seems to have adjusted to it pretty well, and there's also been kind of more need there at the back than anywhere else. And you know, I like that, and I think that it's really promising, and it's promising that they're playing. It's promising that as a club we've recognised the fact that actually these guys could be really good for us and could do a really good job for us. And you know, I felt I did that Channel 5 thing after the Barnsley game a couple of weeks ago, and that's like, it's 20 seconds, and afterwards there were a few people that tweeted me afterwards kind of thinking that I'd been a little bit dismissive and a bit disrespectful of our young players. And I could see where they were coming from, and that wasn't the intention. But it was kind of like, we really thrust these players in at the deep end, and that's hard when you're playing scrappy championship games. And these players, rather than us being able to slowly introduce them into the team in the way that we might want to do, we're just having to fling them in there because we haven't got that much choice. And it's really hard for them, and I think they have done really well. And this is not even kind of taking into consideration the two young goalkeepers that we've got about the place who've been fantastic this season. So it's just so many positive things to take from that, and I'm really pleased as a club that we're signing these players up to contracts. I'm sure, Lord H, there might be one more youth player that you might quite like us to get signed up to a new contract, maybe.
Anybody we know?
I don't know if we're allowed to mention this, are we?
Dawson, we're talking. No?
There has been a very quiet rumour that Sheffield Wednesday again trying to get George Hurst back round the table, hasn't he? Which would be fantastic. I don't know how true it is. I don't know if it's just grabbing hold of wishful thinking, anything at all like that. I can't tell you how much I would love to see that. I really can't.
I saw all I can tell you is I saw his dad in Nonners a couple of weeks ago. I'd had a couple of drinks and I kind of gave him I'm a Wednesday fan, I know who you are, but I'm not going to come up to you because I know you don't want me to kind of look. And he winked at me. And I take that to mean... I took that to mean that George Hurst is definitely signing a new contract. That's what I interpret
a wink
from that.
From David Hurst.
Did you see someone posted? He must have posted on his Instagram a photo this week. It was his birthday, wasn't it, George Hurst, or in the last couple of weeks? And I don't know if you've seen the photo of him, but I mean, he's bulked up like hugely.
Really has, hasn't he?
Yeah, really has. Because I think it was the big criticism of him was that he was quite slight and looked, tiny. And maybe we compare him to his dad, who was always a bit of a unit, wasn't he?
Absolutely.
Maybe the beer more than anything, but but yeah, I mean, he looked in really good shape. So regardless of whether or not, I don't know whether he's going to stay or go or whatever's going to happen, and I think we all suspect that ship has sailed. But clearly, rather than just sitting and doing nothing while he's not been playing, he's spent his time in the gym and he's been working out. So fair play to the kid.
Absolutely. And if he does stay at Wednesday, which would not only make my century, it would also save me a fortune in tattoo removal, which would be brilliant because this thing on my back is still there, chaps. So
you're gonna have to put a little more work into it to get to cover this this new bulk he has to cover that as well.
I'll just have to bulk out myself just to sort of stretch him out a little bit on the old
right.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Right, so Jay, the customer survey or the fan survey, we'll call it the customer survey. I believe you had some results from that as well.
Yeah, the results of this were announced on, was it Saturday morning? I seem to think that I was like literally walking to the tram to head down to Hillsborough when this all started coming out. So it was, I mean, to be fair, unless I've not checked, but I think the only results that they've actually revealed from the various questions was kind of the $1 million question, which was about, do you want us to continue with the current level of investment and the current pricing strategy, or do you want us to return to how it's been in the past and us sell all our best players? Paraphrasing, but that's more or less what it said, and it was quite a conclusive result in terms of continue with the current pricing policy and therefore the current investment policy. And I think it's been a very clever exercise on the part of the club, because what this actually does now is it shuts down the debate. Because any time now anyone raises this, then what the club can say is, look, we put it to a survey, we asked thousands of fans, and whatever it was, 70% all voted in favour of continuing with the current strategy. And I don't want to sound negative about it, I really don't, but there was a really key line in the statement from the club about this, which I think has gone a little bit unnoticed, In fact, the whole sort of thing seems to have been a little bit glossed over, but there was a real key thing in here. It was the first time that they mentioned that this survey was sent out to supporters with a certain number of priority points.
Ah.
So the points that you get for buying tickets to games, you had to have a minimum number of points for you to be sent this survey. Now, what I see from that is that the supporters who can't afford to go now weren't asked. They don't have a voice in this. And so I kind of think my fear here is that we've just now kind of got a two-tier fan base. So we've got fans that can't afford to go now and weren't given a voice, but will be told by the club, well, everyone voted in terms of continuing the way we've got it now. So what it's kind of just saying is, you guys, forget it. Just go somewhere else now, because you're not going to be involved in the future of this club. I know that's taken it to the nth degree and been super dramatic, but when I first read it, it's just kind of how it felt, because every time the debate comes up now, the club can shut it down. So you know what? It's a very clever strategy, and I think it has fulfilled the club's aims very, very well. But I'm just not sure that I like it that much.
I must admit, I do agree, Jay. I am in a situation at the moment where I can't get to Hillsborough as much as I would like due to work commitments and family commitments, etc., etc., etc. I did not receive this survey. I have made my feelings clear more than one occasion on the plight of the family and the plight of the working man, which I do think the club are trying to address. Obviously, with the most recent season tickets, especially with the kids and things, which is brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I think it's fantastic. Yeah. But at the same time, I think we're in danger at the moment of separating the fan base to those that can go and those that can't. The amount of times I see on Twitter things like, well, you can't have an opinion because you didn't go to the match and those sorts of things. I do watch every single match on the full match replay on iFollow. So I sat again today through the Millwall match, so I could speak about it on this evening's podcast, which I must admit takes a certain level of commitment when you know what's going to happen, just so I can try and watch it and again try and figure out what on earth those tactics were. I still couldn't do it, by the way. And I do think we are in massive danger at the moment of splitting the fan base, and I don't like it personally. I think it's difficult and it's dangerous, and we're all Wednesday, aren't we, that the club are trying to achieve, again, through this video and those sorts of things, I think is in great danger at the moment. I really, really do. And there are a lot of Wednesday fans out there that, A, have work commitments, B, have family commitments, C, can't afford to go to football games, and it doesn't make them less Wednesday fans able to have an opinion. And I think it's difficult. And I am in that category at the moment. I do watch every football match. I do follow as closely as I can. I have an opinion on what's happening with Sheffield Wednesday Football Club. Should I be able to have one, is the question. And there's a lot of people out there that feel the same.
Yeah, and I get that. I'm one of those that, today it's not very often that I look at my kind of priority points, because I just kind of know that I always tend to fall in the first kind of bracket. But I've got something like 870 or something priority points, which means that in terms of being a Sheffield Wednesday fan, I'm right sort of up there. But I would absolutely agree with you that I think that football was always designed to be a game for everyone, and this is not just a Sheffield Wednesday problem, by the way. This is right across the English game, and it's actually probably right across all the leagues, including even down to kind of the National League, where it's some of the clubs in the National League charge £20, £25 a ticket to their games, because they're doing the equivalent of what we're doing. They're trying to get every penny in to make a place to get into the Football League. So right across the game we've got this problem. And I must say, since the survey came out, fair play to the club in terms of the way that they've adjusted the season ticket prices to try and help families in particular, which I think does deserve credit. But
absolutely.
Someone made it. I can't remember what it was, but there's been a couple of tweets recently that people have made, and one was about the fact that Premier League footballers. There was someone that signed a new contract at $300,000 a week or something, and yet his son's not been able to play. His team's not been able to play for the last 5 weeks because the pitch is in such a bad condition. It's like grassroots football. The funding for that is just shocking. It's just terrible. And you hear stuff all the time. You see stuff in the media all the time that just makes you think the game's just kind of gone. It is. It's never going to be what it used to be when we first started following it. And part of me is disappointed in that, even though I'm one of the few that I'm quite fortunate that I go to most games and I can do that. I've got the disposable income. I've not got the commitment of kids, and I can afford to do that. But it doesn't mean that I feel any less for those fans that maybe used to be able to go a heck of a lot more and now feel a little bit cut off by it. And I think that really sucks. And that's, as I say, that's not a direct criticism of Sheffield Wednesday, but it is a direct criticism of football in this country right now.
I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I appreciate you saying it, Jay. Are you of the opinion that those fans can't have as much of an opinion about the club as you?
Not at all, not at all. And it annoys me as much as it annoys you when you hear fans saying, "Oh, were you at the game?" I think that's really, really silly. As if if you don't go to, when it comes to talking about actual, the performance on the pitch, I get the fact that fans that were there are always going to be able to pass a little bit more judgment. I tweeted after the Derby game last week, and my first words there were, I wasn't at the game tonight, but from what I've heard, and kind of made that sort of point. But the idea that fans that don't go should have any less say about the future of the club is, I think, nonsensical, because we ultimately want to get as many people in the ground as possible, and it is about engaging people and making you feel more engaged. And I think asking the fans that already come and pay the prices that they already pay, are you happy to continue paying these prices? You kind of, the chances are you're only going to get one result back there, aren't you? And to be honest, I didn't answer the survey because I wasn't comfortable with picking either of those options. Because I get why the club said,
I didn't.
The club obviously want people to say we want to continue with the current pricing structure. And I get that, and I really do. And I don't think it's the club's fault that financial fair play is an absolute twat. It's not the club's fault that prices in the Premier League are so ridiculous now that clubs in the Championship have to spend ridiculous amounts of money to even have a chance of getting there. But I also hate the fact that there are the kind of the working man, and that's such a broad phrase, isn't it? But the working man is priced out of second tier football in this country. That sucks. That's just stupid. And I've made this point before, and some people will probably say, well, it's not relevant because it's a different country. I've just come back from watching a game in Germany. Second tier football in Germany. The ticket was €13.50, which is about £11. And that's for an adult ticket, no discounts or anything like that. It's a full price adult ticket, and it cost me about just over 11 quid for the ticket. And that's how do you put those two things in context? It just reminds you of just how broken the game is over here.
Yeah, it's disappointing, and the last thing I would want to see is Wednesday fans getting on Wednesday fans because of the situation in British football, shall we say, at the moment. So yeah, thank you for that, Jay. I really appreciate that. It makes me feel a bit better about just watching the games instead of being at the games. Right, chaps, do you have any other Wednesday news for this evening? No, is that all our Wednesday news spent?
We're all spent.
Well, there was just the only other thing that I was going to mention, which completely contradicts everything I've just said, actually, was just
you hate
how.
People that don't go to the game.
Yeah. No,
shall I say it on your behalf instead? I'm ready, and I'll say it.
You want to do? No, I just don't like those people that leave at half time when we're 3-0 down, Rich. That's what I was going to say. I think they're the ones
half-time,
that really.
It was before half time.
Sorry, before half time. No, just going to say real fair play to the club for the prices for. I think for the next couple of games that they've announced are pretty good, but particularly the Bolton game, 20 quid a ticket for any adult in any part of the ground, which I just think, fair play. It's nice to still do that for one or two games. I know in the past they've done it and said that it doesn't tend to get any more fans in than normal, so they're not going to do it anymore moving forward. But to still do it for a couple of games a season, I think is nice.
Absolutely fantastic. And Phil Hillsborough, show him that this maybe is one of the reasons why a lot of people can't go. So, yeah, fantastic. Well done. Well done, Wednesday. I'm really impressed with the, especially with these season tickets that have come out. Really, really super impressed. Right, then, chaps. So we've been waffling on a bit tonight. So let's quickly run through our upcoming fixture, shall we? First of all, the Villa game. Obviously, Villa have been going quite good guns at the moment. But Mr. Bruce has been in the media saying that he's a little bit disappointed with his injury issues, which obviously is Wednesday fans.
They've got 5 players out injured. 5 players out injured. Hey, Stevie, 3 times that here. 3 times that. See how you deal with it.
Bless him. Wait while your whole first team just completely wiped out. But yes, it is. I don't want to sound awful here, but it is kind of good news for us. Jack Grealish is out. Albert Doma is out. And I believe that Mr. Snodgrass is still ill as well, which are 3 players I do hold in quite high regard. So from a Wednesday point of view, brilliant. But Villa have been decent this season. I mean, they weren't fantastic last season. We all knew that they were kind of building towards something. But do you guys, especially after the derby predictions, shall we say, are you guys looking forward to the match? Do you think we can actually grab something from this game?
You just never know, do you? It depends what team he puts out for a start. Even with the players he's got, they keep shuffling around. We need to be winning these games. We really do now, because otherwise we're going to be starting to look over our shoulders much more than we're on. I've had a look at the league table for the first time in a while tonight. I think we're on 37 and it's 29. I think is the relegation zone. So we're about 8 points off it, I think. But it's still slightly unnerving. So we need to be picking up wins, not just points, because points won't keep us up.
Are you worried about, because looking at the league table, essentially we are getting towards a relegation scrap for this season, aren't we? Is that something that you chaps are worried about?
I'm not worried. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, probably the same. I think it sort of like a blissfully ignorant assumption that we'll have enough and we won't get dragged into it. Is kind of where I'm at. I'm just kind of keep saying to myself, nah, we won't get dragged into a... Nah, we can't, can we? We can't get... Nah, we won't. Look, I mean, you know, I think we are in the thick of it, and I think right now, someone put on Twitter earlier, I can't remember who it was, and apologies for kind of stealing their thing. Someone just said, normally, they kind of, you know, they sort of hate the idea of the season finishing and having a summer without any football, but this season, cannot wait to see the back of it. At this stage, right,
agree.
If you offer me 21st place and we stay up by a point, I'd just take it. Because this season we just need to write it off. We need to dig a massive hole. We need to bury it. Then we need to set fire to the field that we've buried it in. Then we need to get North Korea to bomb it, right? Because it's been horrible. It's been horrendous, and I don't expect it to get anything other than horrendous for the rest of the season. This is just a horrendous season, and it is about survival. It is just about getting through it, getting to the summer. Hopefully by then, Jos will have had enough time to figure out what he wants to do in terms of the squad, who's going to go out, who's going to come in, and we can actually start, you know, seriously rebuilding a squad that can compete next season. To answer the question, am I worried about it? No, but that's not to say that I'm not worried about worrying about it. I don't think that makes sense. I can see a scenario where I do end up worrying about it, but at the moment I'm ignoring that possibility and just thinking, you know what, we will have enough. It is a problem when you look at games like Aston Villa on Saturday, because you think, God, is that going to be the game that we get something from? And then you think, well, what's the game after that? Oh, Bristol City away. Ooh, maybe that's not the game we'll get something from either. What's the game after that? Leeds United, or you know, whoever we've got. Have we got Norwich coming up as well? Bolton maybe, which is the one you'd look at and think, oh, we've got that's probably the one we'd expect to win. We said that about Birmingham. I mean, I don't know. Whatever order the points come in, I don't care. Let's just get enough points and let's put this horrendous, awful season to bed. Let's just kill it. Shoot it in the back of the head.
But all that said, Jay, there is obviously Swansea coming up as well. There is a possibility that we could be in the quarterfinals. There is a possibility. Obviously, we saw what happened with Rochdale and Spurs. Obviously, Rochdale are living the dream at the minute. There is a chance that we could be playing Rochdale or Spurs if we get through Swansea. Would you like to essentially have that cup run now, because it is a gleaming part of the season now, isn't it? Imagine if we if we finish 21st and win the FA Cup, how amazing would that be?
It's not happening, is it?
No, I'm fuming about it. I'm absolutely fuming about it, and it's my own fault. It is entirely my own fault. If we do beat Swansea, the 6th round game, it is 6th round, isn't it? The 6th round game falls on the weekend where we are supposed to be away at Leeds United. Now, I don't generally go to Leeds United away. I don't like the place. I don't like the fans. Don't like the city. I've already booked to go away. So I'm on holiday. I'm in Ireland. I'm going to Ireland for St Patrick's Day. So
that's fine.
I will.
Are you Irish, James?
I am Irish on St Patrick's Day. Yes, this is true.
Oh, for God's sake.
So I'm fuming about it. I'm absolutely fuming about it.
But if you don't go, we're going to win.
I hope we get absolutely stuffed on Tuesday night. No, you're right. You are right. Actually, it will if we beat Swansea, we will beat Tottenham in the next round or Rochdale, because I can't be at the game, so it's absolutely guaranteed. Which is fine. Then we'll be at Wembley. Everyone's happy.
I'm hoping for a win at Swansea. Spurs to come to Hillsborough, draw, and then we're going to Wembley.
Oh, I can make the replay. That'd be all right. Yeah.
But you're not allowed to go, Jay. It's that simple. I'm sorry, but for FA Cup games now, you are barred.
All right. Yeah.
I'll just go instead next week.
Yeah. But no, I'm looking forward to the Swansea game. Is it going to be interesting to see what team Jos puts out? It's going to be interesting to see what team Carlos puts out as well, because I think both managers have agreed that it's not ideal having a second fixture. Carlos did make the point whilst on the television that they should be able to agree between themselves that shall we just go to penalties to save another game, because I don't think Carlos has, obviously he's got priorities with keeping Swansea in the Premier League, hasn't he?
No one wanted a replay. Can I ask you both a couple of quiz questions here? These are your Sheffield Wednesday pub quiz questions for tonight. So the first one is, obviously the game on Tuesday night is live on the BBC. Can either remember the last time that Sheffield Wednesday were live on the BBC, which game that was?
Oh, chuff me.
Good question.
I would imagine it would be maybe one of our European exploits.
It is a little more recent.
Is it a cup final?
It's not a cup final. Although, I mean, actually, it sort of was a cup final, but it wasn't actually a cup final.
Oh, it was United's cup final, you mean?
No. No, that's not what I mean. It was the Crystal Palace home game at Hillsborough, last day of the season. Which anyone that watched that on TV remembers it for fans attacking the TV booth until David Hurst turned round and wiggled his finger at them, and then they stopped. So your second pub quiz question is, when was the last time that Sheffield Wednesday beat a Premier League club in the FA Cup? And this one really will mess with your head.
I'm going to have to abstain from an answer. I honestly can't think.
Can I ask you a question? Are they a current Premier League club?
No.
It's gonna. I don't know.
I give you 1993 Sheffield United, Wembley Stadium.
Shuffer duck.
The last time Sheffield Wednesday beat a Premier League club. So we need to, erase that statistic on Tuesday night. On both fronts, we need to erase those two horrible memories. Well, actually, the United one was a great memory, but then
I'm just giving it as my good memory earlier.
The bit that came after it was pretty horrendous. So yeah, there we go.
I believe we are still the last non-Premiership team, or First Division team to win the League Cup, aren't we? From Rumbrose in '91. How wonderful would it be if we could be the last team that won the FA Cup that wasn't in the Premiership at the same time?
Lord H, wake up!
Oh,
wakey! Come on!
It would be marvellous, though.
I wonder if Notts County fans were having this conversation a couple of weeks ago.
yeah.
Thinking, we could go to, we could get something. We were
and
better
Rochdale fans having the same conversation.
Better than them at Meadow Lane. We could go there and get something.
Oh, let me dream. This season has been awful. Just let me dream. Right then, chaps. So that's going to bring us to an end of the podcast for this evening. Eventually, it's been a long one, this one. I apologise, boys and girls. Do we have any other little bits before we retire for the evening, gentlemen? Nope. Fantastic. So, Jamesy, if you want to find you over there on the social medias, where can we do that, Albin?
You can find me at James Marriott. Now, the last Saturday 3 o'clock kickoff that we had, which was against Birmingham, which was awful, wasn't it? Yeah, I did, for the first time in a while, I did some kind of live pre-match. It's called Twitter Live now, isn't it, rather than Periscope? But we'll call it Periscope. Some Periscope videos from the pub, which was mainly aimed at kind of, exiled Wednesday fans abroad. I appreciate that Wednesday fans over here were like, why is this guy just filming himself in the pub? But it's not really designed for you. It's for fans abroad who are watching it on iFollow that want to kind of get that feel for the pre-match sort of thing. And that went down quite well. So I'm going to do it again before the Villa game, and I don't know if anyone that listens to the Owls Americast will know Paddy, who is part of that podcast, part of the New York Owls. He's over for the game on Saturday, so there's going to be a bit of kind of collaborative podcast members, Twitter Live, periscoping stuff going going on.
That's a catchy title, that. Jake.
Yeah, I might work on that, actually. It could probably be something a little bit better. But yeah, keep an eye out. Me and Paddy doing some Twitter Live videos with increasing amounts of beer, so they'll get funnier as the day goes on.
Fantastic. And if people want to find those, where can we do that, Jamesy?
Get me on Twitter at James Marriott.
Fantastical. Richie, oh boy, where can people find your bits and bobs over there on the Twitterage?
You'll be able to find me at Dickie Owl. I also obviously will be at the home game, so on Saturday against Villa, so it'll be good to see Paddy. And I will be going down to Swansea next week as well, so I'll be making the 10-hour round trip in the day, which will be fun.
Absolutely. Of course, if you do want to get hold of Paddy as well, do whip over there on the Twitterage and look for at New York Owls, because it is Paddy that runs the New York Owls, or should I say was the co-founder. Paddy rocks. Just get over there and follow Paddy. And obviously, if you listen to the Owls Americast as well, you can follow, I'm going to say, Patches, proper Twitter as well, if you want to find things about bands that wear skinny jeans at Patrick A. Jones, I think, over there on Twitter as well. So please do follow him over there as well. Of course, if you want to get all the meat over there on the Twitter, you can do that at Lord H. That's L0RD_H. Get all the podcast at TWWcast. Find us on our website at thewednesdayweek.co.uk. I've been practicing, Jay. Are you proud of me? I love it.
Well done.
And of course, you get us over there on the YouTubes and everything else as well. It has been an absolute pleasure as always, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for joining us, especially for this amount of time. Be good, be safe, and we shall see you real soon.
There's a chance here, a great save. A turner from McClare. Pint, a terrific goal by Sheridan.
Brexman against Jones. Get in.
You could have 2 goals.